Good morning, it's early morning of September the 1st, 2023. Welcome to the new month. Thank you, everybody. My name is David Okun. Welcome to my channel. Thank you, everybody who have been helping me to watch my video, and the ones who have been sharing my video, those who have actually subscribed to this channel. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Subscribing to my channel is the best way to help me and my channel grow. The bigger, the better, the more, the merrier. So keep on the good work, keep up with the good work. With your support, the positive comments and all the other objective comments you make are very useful in the project we are undertaking. We are promoting freedom of speech. In life there is an opportunity presenting itself for individual to speak. The government of the world, the government of every country, every government you're living in is teaching you something about freedom of speech, and that's what we're trying to do here. The beauty of social media is to enable the common man and the common woman to speak as freely as possible. Of course, with respect. Remember, I spoke in my other programs about culture, the culture of respect, how individuals respect themselves and how they also respect other people, how they work together, they learn together going to school, colleges, wherever in the community, because you can learn from life. Life is a school, it's a learning environment. You can learn new things, you can read books, you can gain knowledge of different things. And since the beginning of this program in December last year, we are more or less 90 months into the project. We've been talking about the cost of living, global crisis, a human tragedy, the social catastrophe, political dilemmas, and disasters. And this is primarily created by the government. You live in a country where there is a government, then go up to your member of parliament and ask them why they allowed the cost of living to spread out of control like it has done. The cost of living from the beginning of society, in history, in recent events, in recent times, currently and going into the future, the cost of living is going to go on. There is no way to believe for individuals or groups or organizations, home or away, to believe that the cost of living is a temporary incident. It's a crisis, it might be a temporary incident, but to say for certain when it's going to stop is almost a policy. It's not going to go away anytime soon. So the idea is to engage with it. The government have said here in the UK, in America, in other parts of the world that they are going to help you. The government says they're going to help you, and they will help you. They always do. But what I say to people is that help, although help is available, help from the government is becoming less and less. And although help is available from the government, it is so difficult to get it here in the UK. And I believe in wherever you are in the developed world. In Africa, from the developing countries, like I said previously, go and ask your MP if the government is willing to help. Because in my understanding, the governments in Africa today, maybe they help in different ways, but the kind of help I'm talking about, where the government is structurally and also through processes help individuals who cannot help themselves. This kind of help may be there in Africa, but I can say that it's very likely that such helps are actually negligible. It's probably not there in the conventional sense of the word. Therefore, where you see there being no help in the country, or the country where you live, or there is help but not enough, and if there is help, the help not being enough, is so difficult to get that people sometimes give up. They don't get help because the help is so little. It helps, but it's so little that sometimes people feel abused. They feel treated as if they are beggars on the streets. Even beggars on the streets are pride. Sometimes the nature, the culture of help giving by the state is very humiliating. And people are committing suicide. Young people especially are committing suicide. Young people, some of them leave school because they're so frustrated about student finance. They don't want to be in debt. And students getting into debt is the responsibility of the government. The government is at fault of any country, especially the developed country where there is a system of student financing, especially in the United Kingdom where I live. And the withdrawing of student help as grants and turning this help into loans is a big mistake. It's an abuse of young people. It's an abuse of educational resourcing to young people, because if young people don't study, they have no future. And adults who didn't study didn't get much future, and they're struggling. And as if that is not enough, when young people begin to see their parents, the way their parents struggle with employment, the kind of employment now being given to certain class of people is a form of abuse. Employers are disrespectful to employees. The government has allowed employers to abuse employees by failing to support a decent minimum wage, by failing to support industries, small and medium businesses, by failing to put the right kinds of law to provide appropriate proper employment, provide proper employment rights to employees who are already struggling. They are so desperate, and the culture of industry is very slave orientated, so slave orientated that people who are actually poor, who are working class for the minimum wage, but also now increasingly the middle class, who earn in the UK, for example, who earn between 30, 40, or even 50,000 These are now struggling. A lot of people are being laid off, and there is a lot of harassment by bosses. They are so abusive in their attitude. They are so accusing. It's a slave master mentality, culture of failure, the culture of brutality, the culture of violence. I have also mentioned about capitalism as a political system. People need to understand what this is about. It's about business, especially the big businesses, the corporate businesses. These are businesses belonging to multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires, and also being run by millionaires, sometimes by multi-billionaires. The CEOs, the directors. I'm not saying every CEO and director is wealthy. Because the CEO of small and medium businesses and of the third sector, charities, a lot of them are middle classes, normal middle classes. But there are, top managers who work for very high-profile private companies. These people are super rich. And that is a good thing. I'm proud of them. The country should be proud of rich people. And about capitalism, we should also be proud of capitalism operating well. What we should not allow to happen as the British people, American people, the Chinese are also embracing capitalism as an economic system. The Middle East, Africa, wherever you are, if you are allowed just a little room to speak, don't neglect your right. Speak, respect yourself, respect other people, respect their property, respect your property, and still you can go and demonstrate, but do it respectfully. And it doesn't matter what we are campaigning about, whether about environment, whether about low pay, condition of work. That is the right you have. Do that, and do it respectfully, because the world is a very complex place to live, even without social system like political system, economic system, and cultural systems. See, these are systems we have created in our society, which actually serves us, which is actually good. One thing we have done successfully is to create systems which are very efficient. Legal system, military system, security, all these are functioning, and they are functioning almost perfect. With technology, engineering, science, the world is your oyster. There is your oyster. There is hope in that respect. What I call developmental economy. What I would go on to say, as I have said before, is that our setback, or should I say failure as humanity, is our culture. What I term as the cultural economy. That has failed. Because people are fighting, children are fighting on the street, fighting one another. Parents are fighting at home. Community leaders are fighting each other. They may or may not have reason for fighting. But fighting is fighting. It is wrong. But we have turned fighting into an industry, into a political system. As part of diplomacy, as part of domestic relationship. War has been normalized. Wherever we go, we treat war as necessary, and it is true that war is now a necessity. Imagine a situation where you have to feed on poison. I mean, somebody prepares a meal for you or a drink, and they put medicine, and they put drugs, they put poison in it. They put poison in food, in drink, and give it to you. And although it might not kill you, but normally it kills you anyway. Although it may not kill you immediately, in the long run it is going to kill you. That's what is happening in our society. Our society, we feed in what sustains us. Whether technology, whether food, drinks, we are actually weaponizing these products and turning it into some form of toxins, killing us. And that is evidence of our failure as cultural people. Our culture has failed. So culture is a product of learning. And learning is a product of good ideas, good education, good training, and proper support. Beginning from source, middle, and end. We as a society must change. And that's why I'm speaking. Because I believe in hope. Believe in change, and if we can change, then there's hope. And the best way to change the way we think, and actually we adjust our expectation of ourselves and of people we relate with in families, community, and the wider society, locally and globally, as well as regionally, everywhere and in every way. Let us take an incident of the cost of living as a crisis as an opportunity for us to look to reflect on our lives and to see where we can make changes, beginning with how we think, beginning with how we learn, see what materials we use. What if you go on the internet, what kind of material content do you watch? It's a good thing to look, to see people dancing with music, people playing, having fun, comedy. That's entertainment. You are entitled to play, but you are also entitled. You have a responsibility to work. Because if you play, that is when you are resting from your work. The balance between play and work is what is needed in terms of industry, in terms of development, in terms of our culture. Is what I said before. The way we think, our beliefs, what we value. And this is something we need to focus on. As of way of life, and the cost of living is an opportunity for us to do that. I've been saying this thing. I say to you, I promise, for those who have been watching my video, I've actually promised that I will be repeating this thing over and over again, because it's at the core of what my speaking of this videoing. Otherwise, I will be repeating what's ancestral already said. The originality of my material is that I've actually identified the problem of the cost of living as a crisis. The cost of living is maybe a variable, but it's a constant, a crisis. We have COVID-19, we have the war in Ukraine, we have natural disasters from climate change, and we need to find out what climate change is, and we have to be clear what is causing climate change. We live in a modern world where we can no longer take anything for granted. We need to think, we need to learn, we need to apply knowledge to bring change. And that's what I'm trying to say. Hard work is extremely important. If you want to be lazy, fine. But laziness is also a good thing. If you're using it to rest, to take time, or go on holiday, just lie down and relax. But A life lived in balance is a life lived in hope. Because if you work and invest in something, and then talk about income as well. If you get money or whatever you get, keep some of it, save some money, plan, know how much money you have, know the cost, priority, spending, priority, the debt, and these are some of the things you can do in a small way. At the same time, get help from family, friends. I'm actually speaking to people in the UK and across the world because of globalization. What happens in the UK happens across the globe. If you phone around the world, you will discover that there's cost of living everywhere. So today, I'm going to talk about the cost of living in terms of the financial crisis of the United States of America and of the globe. Because it started in America and is spread throughout the globe. And the reason I'm talking about that because I said at the start that the primary cause of the cost of living of the government of every country, they should take responsibility for that. It doesn't matter how hard it is. It should be honest. It should come, they should be upfront with people. They can lie to people or they can call it whatever they want, diplomacy or public relations. It doesn't matter. Every little helps. If you're going to be diplomatic, you're going to be PR to manage risk and to protect issues surrounding security. That is fine. But at some point in our life, we need to start coming clean. We need to start telling the truth. It doesn't matter how risky it is. At some point, we have to really begin to work together because we cannot pretend that things are okay because things are not okay. And if you are a minister, if you are prime minister in the UK, if you are a minister or prime minister or a president in another country, because of globalization, because of the global community, the global system, foreign relations, start working together as governments of the world, and because of communication technology, internet, social media, let the common people also begin to play their part relating with people around the world to bring about change, because it's your life. You can do something about it, or somebody else will do something about it for you. And you can complain about people doing things on your behalf, or you can complain about you doing nothing or doing something. But do something, and if you cannot do something, that is fine. But it's the best thing is to try and do something. Just about how little it is. What I'm going to do going forward right now is to talk specifically about, because this is actually going to be the 10th video, or there are 9 parts to the video. So if you watch this one, watch the other one also to collect them. Because in 2008, the United States government decided to provide public housing by using private companies or private financial systems. They were lending money to people who are poor, who needed housing, instead of the government using public system to provide housing for the Americans who are vulnerable, who are poor. The American government instead decided to ask the financial institutions of America to give credit. They allowed people who shouldn't borrow money to borrow money. See, they turned a blind eye, on the risk. Because if you lend money, you look at the risk. And there are some really complex financial instruments, and if you lend money to somebody who cannot pay, you know you assess the risk, but the government is backing you with maybe money or some other financial instrument, or making promises to back you anyway. So the government allows the financial system to take risks. In other words, the government took money, instead of giving money to poor people to build their houses in America, it took billions and probably trillions of US dollars to give it to the super rich. That's what caused the financial collapse. Literally, that was what happened. And that is not right. They may explain it in whatever ways they want to explain it, but that was what happened in America. Government took public money and gave it free of charge to multimillionaires and multi-billionaires. In the process, they created a crisis, a global financial crisis. And if I didn't know the government of America or the government of the world, I would have mistaken them for terrorists, state terrorists, creating financial uproar deliberately, creating financial uproar deliberately, and turning around to blame the market, the financial people. But you fail to provide housing to the homeless in America. And this is quite similar to what is now happening in the UK with the credit. The financial crisis was termed the credit crunch. The credit crunch means something was the credit system, the financial system was destroyed. So the credit became like a bullet, like a bomb, like dropping a bombshell onto the financial economic system. So there was something called basically when there was a problem, the government responded by setting certain laws, but these laws were intended to strengthen the financial system, and it did not work. The system, the policies did not work, and so they resorted to all sorts of activities. Probably they were panicking, probably they were not. Especially the rest of the world was panicking, but these people probably knew what they were doing. And there is something called subprime mortgage. When you talk of bonds, you're talking about credit, basically credit. So talk about subprime mortgage. Subprime mortgage is the kind of risky credit system for housing, for buying housing, and this financial instrument was lent to people who are high level of risk, and they were given this money even if it was clear they could not afford it, and they were actually charged very high interest rates, even though the government knew these people could not afford. So there was some element of fraud, dishonesty, if I should say, from the government. So basically, the situation got worse and worse and worse, and those who are lent money were not paying it back. They should have expected that, because these people are very clever. The financial workers are very clever. They should have actually expected that. And that was the event in America, and it's actually responsible for destroying the global economy from 2008 to what we now see. That's why I'm talking about it, because the cost of living crisis didn't just start this year or last year. It has been building for decades and decades. The world wars in the 19th century. It piles up and it destroys the economy. Every time the economy is destroyed, a lot of money is actually transferred into the hands of the super rich. So all the warnings were there, and the risk, the impending crisis in America, all the risks were there. People saw it, and this began to affect countries like China and affecting stock prices, in countries like China. And the worst situation got in America, and including problem with their own prices going up. That means if prices go up, it gets from bad to worse, such that houses become less and less affordable. So that is actually the impact. And only that, it actually began to impact on other products as well. Such is it's quite similar to what is happening now. Because what happens now, you had the war in Ukraine, the disruption of supply of oil from Russia to Europe, and the prices of energy and all the similar products, oil, petroleum, and all this, because this drives industry. You see, energy drives society, and when there's a problem with energy, society stops. And now energy is affecting the cost of food, the cost of energy at home, at small and medium businesses, and they are closing down. As they close down, it changes demand and supply. It changes supply. So demand goes up, supply will come down, because when businesses close down, then supply actually goes down, demand goes up, prices also goes up. So it's actually what happens again and again and again under capitalism, and that's why it is necessary when there is a crisis under capitalism, under the market economic system, the government should use the public sector to mitigate risk. So, like I said, people who borrowed money fail to pay it back. So, some organization set to lend money begin to experience problems. Every time an organization is in problem, they don't invest. And investments in this case is actually investment in loan, something called subprime loans. So an organization called Freddie Mac, they said they would stop investing in certain subprime loans. Subprime loans actually low quality loans. They are low quality loans because the risk is so high. The risk is so high because the people being given a loan, actually credit, are poor, and they are poorly educated as well. So they carry a very, very high risk. So the people lending money and also buying credit, that's called a credit swap. When credit, when there's a defaulting in credit, it means people are not paying the money back. So uh, the mechanism of credit, yeah, transaction is you sell your loan to somebody who buys it, and you pay them some money because they are taking risk. And that's how complex and ridiculous the financial instrumentation works, and such as indeed in America. And therefore, there came a situation of bailing out. The government needed to be bailed. The private company needed to be bailed out. That's how a lot of money was transferred from government to the private company. So there was continued chaos, and they are just going through the timeline. You know, American Home Mortgage filed for bankruptcy. You know, for example, they are, you know, BNP Paribas blocked withdrawal from 3 of its 8 funds with a total of 2.2 billion. And all these companies, these are actually energy companies. Some of them are mortgage companies. So there was a lot of chaos, and their companies were losing billions of pounds, and there was apparent panic. You know, there was a lack of liquidity, and there were actually activities to try and mitigate the situation, and some companies were closing down, and there were reports of failure in many companies, and companies like Northern Rock, I've already discussed this in the other videos. You know, the beginning to get help from support from the Bank of England, Northern Rock in the city, and there was panic run on the bank, and there were actions from the authorities, government, to give money to organizations. You know, there were banks actually, like the bank called Net Bank in 2007 filed for bankruptcy due to exposure to home loans. So I'm just going through the timeline of the events which actually impacted on the USA and organizations like Citigroup of America, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase have announced plans for 80 billion master liquidity enhancement to provide liquidity to structured investment vehicles. So these are some of the language they use. I'm just trying to interpret it in normal language. What they're saying here is actually they want more money from the government. Plan was abandoned in December. They were pumping money into the economy because that's what you do if there's a crisis. You get the money from the government anyway. Because these people don't spend their money in the first place. They always borrow money from somewhere. So we talk about the credit system. So the problem led to unemployment. We talk about unemployment, right? Every time there's a crisis, there is also unemployment. The lack of employment was gone to, in 2007 December, unemployment in the US hit 5%, for example. And the Federal Reserve instituted the term auction facility to support supply credit to banks with subprime mortgages. These languages are helpful, but I'm just trying to repeat what I already explained in previous. So banks were financial institutions were filing for bankruptcy. This is Delta Financial Corporation in 2007. December 15, 2007, Delta Finance Corporation filed bankruptcy after failing to utilize subprime loans. I already explained to you subprime loan what it was, and Standard & Poor's rating agencies downgrade rates for many monoline insurers with which pay out bonds as paid. All these languages actually related to it. So the Bank of America agreed by countrywide financial for $4 billion stock, and in January 2008, stock market fell to a yearly low as the credit rating of Amber, the bond insurance company, was downgraded. So there was a lot of activity, chain of events. Scottish Equitable, increase in the amount of withdrawals. People are actually taking money away from banks. Scottish Equitable implemented up to 12 months delay on people who were doing. Basically, they were not giving money. You go to the bank, like Scottish Equitable, you go to the bank and they refuse to give you money. And that is a feature of the times now with elevated prices. Even now, this is what we're talking about maybe 10, 15 years ago. Now we're becoming less and less the cash society. In the future, in the near future, in the beginning from now and the next 10 years, maybe 20, we are going to handle less and less cash. We're using credit card, electronic money, bitcoins, which means going forward, banks are going to have total control over your money. You're going to literally work for the bank and for the multi-millionaires. Even if they pay you salary, even if you put money into your bank account, it's not your money. As long as there's crisis, they're going to take that money from you to pay the economy. So it's going to get worse and worse because the market is a form of jungle. There's no law, and people there are actually survivors. And the government has allowed them to be like that. That's what I said in the beginning, that these problems are created by the government, by people who are not good. So January 21st, 2008, U.S. markets were closed for Martin Luther King Day, and the FTSE 100 in the United Kingdom tumbled to 323.3 points, so 5.5%. This largest crash since 9/11. Talk about 9/11 when terrorists bombed America, and later on in July, I think that the following year, I think the UK was also bombed. So there were terrorist activity. Every time there's a crisis, like I said, the economy collapses and poor people suffer. The cost of living is no different as the crisis. Same, the government should have intervened to protect vulnerable people. So in January 22nd, 2008, the US Federal Reserve cut interest rate by 0.75%. To stimulate the economy, the largest drop in 25 years, and the first emergency cut since 2001. In January 2008, U.S. stocks are the worst January since 2000 over concerns about the exposure of companies that issue own insurance. So these are some of the events. February 13, 2008, the economic Stimulus Act of 2008 was enacted, which included a tax rebate. On February 22nd, 2008, the nationalization of Northern Rock was completed. So after the change of events, in March 5th, 2008, the Carlyle Group received margin calls on its mortgage bond fund. In March 17, 2008, Bear Stearns with 56 billion US dollar mortgage assets that had not been written down, and 10,000 trillion in total assets face bankruptcy. Instead, in its first emergency meeting in 30 years, the Federal Reserve agreed to guarantee its bad loans to facilitate its acquisition by JP Morgan Chase for $2 per share. Some activity a week earlier, the stock was trading at 6 cents per share. A year earlier, it traded for 178 shares. The buyout price was increased to 10 per share the following week. In March 18, 2008, in a continuous meeting, the Federal Reserve cut the federal fund rate by 75% basis points. It's cut in 6 months. This is actually the same change of events leading to the crisis. Also, this is some of the responses of private and corporate governments within the public and private sector. It also allowed Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to buy 200,000 billion in subprime mortgages from the bank. So, like I said, when bad debts occurs, the government gives money to organizations, private companies to buy out debts which are actually fake. They are actually like fake assets. In other words, the government just gives free money to corporations. Officials thought this would contain the possible crisis, but it did not. US dollar weakened and commodity prices soared. Like I said previously, when there is disruption, the balance of supply and demand is interrupted. Late June 2008, despite the US stock market falling to a 20% drop of its highs, commodity-related stocks soared as oil traded above 140 per barrel for the first time, and steel prices rose above $1,000 per ton. Worries about inflation combined with strong demand from China encouraged people to invest in commodities during 2000 commodity boom. In July 11, 2008, IndyMark failed. Oil prices peaked at 147.50. We talk about different institutions, private companies now struggling. They are wallowing in their own catastrophes. They were like stranded, they were like stranded people actually drowning in the sea of economic turmoil. So July 30, 2008, the Housing and Economic Recovery Act of 2008 was enacted. So this is the law to control the problem of housing prices and economic turmoil. In August 2008, unemployment hit at 6% in the US. That means 6% means it's very, very bad. September 2007, 2008, the Federal Reserve, the Federal takeover of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac was implemented. Takeover means buying. The government actually take it away from private companies and spend public money to develop it. Normally, when they do that, either they close it down or they capitalize it, they put money into it. And when they do that, give it back to private companies again. So the private company creates a lot of problems. The government actually pays them out. They didn't give the private business back using public money. At the same time, these are actually multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires who create a lot of financial problems. And the government takes money which should be given to poor people, who are the majority. And these people actually super rich, creating a lot of problems deliberately. And the process, the government takes public money, billions and trillions, and give it to the spirit. That's the story. To avoid bankruptcy, Merrill Lynch was acquired by Bank of America for $50 billion in a transaction facilitated by the government. When the government facilitates a transaction, it's actually the money is coming from government. We talk about 50 billion. Merrill Lynch, one of the super rich. Do your research. Lehman, also known as Lehman Brothers, had been in talks to be sold to either Bank of America or Barclays, but neither bank wanted to acquire the entire company. See some of the stories, the dynamics within the economic environment, financial atmosphere. There is selling and buying constantly. I don't think anything else happened under capitalism. People sell and buy. Like hunters, if you go into a jungle to hunt animals, your focus is to get animals and kill it. They were making a killing and they were being killed. Because if you don't kill, you get killed. That's the difference. Because they were like bunches of animals, wild animals, killing each other, financially, metaphorically. September 16, 2008, the Federal Reserve took over American International Group with $85 billion in debt and equity funding. Debt is the opposite of equity. Funding is when you pay for something, but these are actually rotten assets because they are actually. You talk about everything we talk about in terms of assets, they are actually shadow economy. Shadow industry. I mean, if you stand towards the light, you see your shadow. Shadow is not you. That is actually your image. So you talk about the economy of imagery. The real asset, you ask the trader, where is the real asset? Because these are actually created assets. They are actually, they're like smoke. The real assets are somewhere, hidden somewhere. The reserve primary fund broke the bank as the result of its exposure to Lehman Brothers securities. So they become infectious, like parasites, like COVID-19. They begin like infecting one another with death. Like an epidemic of disease. September 17, 2008, investors withdrew $144 billion from the US money market funds, the equivalent of bank run on money market funds, which frequently invest in commercial paper issued by corporations to fund their operations and payrolls, causing the short-term lending market to freeze. Sound like all the stories you hear from horror movies. This interrupted the ability of corporations to roll over their short-term debts. The US government extended insurance for money market accounts and analogous to bank deposit insurance by a temporary guarantee and with Federal Reserve program to purchase commercial paper. September 18, 2008, in a dramatic meeting, the United States Secretary of the Treasury Henry Paulson and Chair of the Federal Reserve Ben Bernanke met with the Speaker of the United States House Representative Nancy Pelosi and warned that the credit markets were close to a complete meltdown. This is government officials and experts now meeting to do a survey of what was happening in the market. Bernanke requested a 700 billion US fund to acquire toxic market mortgages and reportedly told them, if we don't do this, we may not have an economy on Monday. So took 700 billion of public money. That is a big money. And both worthless mortgages, toxic mortgages, they are rotten. They are poisonous. They were destroying the economy like cancer, like atomic bombs, like nuclear weapons. So these credits are actually like living organisms, like diseases, destroying the economy of the globe. America, since September the 19th, 2008, the Federal Reserve created the asset-backed commercial paper money market mutual fund liquidity facility to temporarily issue money market funds and allow the credit markets to continue operating. September the 19th, 2008, the Federal Reserve created the asset-backed commercial paper money market mutual liquidity fund liquidity facility to temporarily insure money market funds and allow the credit market to continue operating. They printed money, more money. When you talk of liquidity, you mean money to support money to support cash flow. But you see, all this money are being infected by credit. So it is wasteful. It is terrorizing of the global resources while the poor languishes. The poor languishes. The rich play football, rotten football, toxic football, dangerous football with public money, while the poor pick up the pieces. The poor are denied access to food, medicine, education, because people who are actually multimillionaires and multi-billionaires are playing games with world resources. And this goes on and on and on and on. The government is their referee. The footballers are actually the marketeers. Capitalists are delinquents. These are actually criminals of the marketplace. When I say criminal, is actually, I'm comparing them with real criminals. But these are actually people who work in the market to manage the global economy, especially the American economy. September the 20th, 2008, Paulson requested the U.S. Congress to authorize a 700 billion fund to acquire toxic mortgages, telling Congress if it doesn't pass, then heaven help us all. They were praying to heaven. Most people pray to God. These people pray to heaven. which is good. Because sometimes if you are messed up big time and small time, the only thing you can do is pray. They pray to heaven. The rest of the world are praying to God. The poor people pray to God. Wealthy people pray to heaven. In September 21st, 2008, Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley converted from investment banks to bank holding companies to increase their protection by the Federal Reserve. So they changed their structure, like aliens, like predators. Those who watch horror movies, like aliens from, they change like chameleons. They adapt to survive. They are in the jungle of the marketplace. You have to change your name. You have to change your identity. If you are a dog, you change into a cat so that you get some cat food. If dog food is no longer there, that's what Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley did. They converted from investment banks to holding companies to increase their protection by the Federal Reserve. Protection means money given to them. They wanted money from the government, so they changed from one thing to another. Because if you are, because they are talking about the law for financing. If you are one thing, if you are an investment bank, the government might not help you. But if you are a holding company, the government will help you. That was the policy in operation. So they changed. While the poor languish in poverty. And that is what is happening now. The government of the world are busy helping the poorest. The small and medium businesses are shutting down. Poor people, the middle class and the working class, the lower class are actually struggling. Some people are losing their jobs. Because if companies closes down, big companies are making cuts. The first cut to make is actually jobs. And jobs is the primary source of income. The cost of living is an income issue. And so one day there is such a turbulence in the country. It means the cost of living is by design. That's why I'm talking about 2008. So we need to understand what happened there. The attitude, the behavior, the negligence, and lack of care. September 22nd, 2008. MUFG Bank acquired 20% of Morgan Stanley. In the marketplace, there's always selling and buying. They sell and they buy. They sell and they buy. You go anywhere near the market, just think of selling things and buying things. September 23rd, 2008, Berkshire Hathaway made $5 billion in investment in Goldman Sachs. So you sell asset, you make money, you make profit, you put it into your pocket. So during crisis, the time of harvest for the super rich. You sell here, you buy there. You make profit here, you make profit there. They make billions, sometimes trillions during crisis. And that's what's happening now with the cost of living. Such as it happened in America in 2007 to 2008 with the housing crisis, which was created by the American government alongside the financial institution. That is the wrath of capitalism, when corruption and greed meet and greed. September 26, 2008, Washington Mutual went bankrupt and was seized by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation after a bank run in which panic depositors withdrew $16.7 billion in 10 days. There was panic, there was customers are going to the bank to withdraw money. Withdraw your money in 2008 and 2007 while it lasts. Going forward, banks are becoming cleverer. Governments are becoming cleverer. They are withdrawing cash from society. What we are going to be left with is credit society. We are going to have money which is actually credit. But like I say to you, with technology and development elsewhere, we are going to see less and less money itself, which is a good thing for me and for the rest of the world, if they speak. Because technology is going to take over the running society, producing goods and services for free, and trading will stop, the economy will shut down. People will be free from work, from violence, hopefully from violence, because violence is the product of cultural failure. And that's why I said at the outset of this video that the best medicine now, because see, if you see the amount of money being thrown around in America in 2000, you know how rich our society is. Nobody should be poor. Not a single person on earth. 8 billion, all the 8 billion pounds, all the 8 billion people around the world should not be poor. They may not be rich, but all of them should be out of poverty. In September 29, 2008, by a vote of 225 to 2008, with most Democrats in support of Republicans against, and the House of Representatives rejected the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act of 2008, which included the $700 billion Troubled Asset Relief Program. Assets were in trouble in America. The governments were setting laws to get assets out of trouble, to get people who own assets out of trouble. Lenders and borrowers were in meltdown, economic and financial meltdown. In America, this poison was actually exported globally, thanks to capitalism, thanks to the market economic system, and thanks to globalization and corrupt governments and corrupt marketeers of the world. Talk about billions. It goes on and on and on. Billions and billions and billions. In response, the DJIA dropped 777.68 points, or 6.98%, then the largest point drop in history. If you talk about drops, that is a fall in value, a fall in status as well. The S&P 500 index fell 8.8%, and the Nasdaq Composite fell 9.1%. Talk about the decline, demise, death and destruction. The marketeers, the financiers. Several stock market indices worldwide fell 10%. Now, looking at the world markets, under capitalism, under the marketized economic infrastructures, gold prices soared to $900 per ounce. The Federal Reserve doubled its credit swaps with foreign central banks, as they all needed to provide liquidity. Liquidity is money, cash. What Wachovia reached a deal to sell itself to Citigroup. However, the deal would not have made shares worthless. Would have made shares worthless. Required capital funds. Try to sell and buy. The government is watching, because the government is a referee of the super rich, of the marketeers, of the financial empires. The world, as they try to sell and buy things which are fake, but doing so knowing the government will be watching whenever he tries to fail the government pour money, pour wealth into this institution, and the rest is history. In September 30, 2008, President George W. Bush addressed the country saying Congress must act. Our economy is depending on decisive action from the government. The sooner we address the problem, the sooner we can get back on the path of growth and job creation. So the DJIA rebounded 4.7%. So the president spoke and the market responded. October 1st, 2008, the United States Senate passed the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act of 2008. October 2nd, 2008, stock market indices fell 4% as investors were nervous ahead of a vote in the U.S. House of Representatives on the Emergency Act Stabilization Act of 2008, setting laws to try and remedy what is actually a global catastrophe within the financial system. October 3rd, 2008, the House of Representatives passed the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act of 2008. So it became part, these people are now getting government to act in terms of legislation, setting laws now to try to address the financial calamities in America. Bush signed legislation that same day. Wachovia reached a deal to be acquired by Wells Fargo in a deal that did not require government funding. So this was independent dealings. October 6th and 10th, 2008. From October 6th and 10th, 2008, the Dow Jones Industrial Average DJIA closed lower in all 5 sessions. Volumes levels were record breaking. The DJIA fell 1,874.9 points or 18.2% in its worst weekly decline ever on both points and percentage basis. The S&P 500 fell more than 20%. October 7, 2008, in the U.S. in the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act of 2008, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation increased the deposit insurance coverage to 2,500 deposit. And then in October 8, 2008, the Indonesian stock market also trading after a 10% drop in one day. October 11, 2008, the head of the International Monetary Fund (IMF) warned that the world financial system was teetering on the brink of systemic meltdown. In October 14, 2008, having been suspended for 3 successive trading days, October 9th and the 10th and the 13th, the Icelandic bank stock market was reopened on October 14th with the main index, the OMX Iceland 15 closing at 678.4, which was about 7% lower than the 3004.6 at the close of October 8 after the value of the 3 big banks, which had formed 73.2% of the value of the OMX Iceland 15, had been set to zero, leading to the 2008 and 2011 Iceland financial crisis. This was in Iceland. The market in Iceland, the wrath of the market reached Iceland. Federal Reserve Deposit Insurance Corporation created the temporary liquidity guarantee program to guarantee the senior debt of all FDIC insured institutions through June the 30th, 2009. So the events, October 16, 2008, a rescue plan was unveiled for Swiss banks USB, AG, and Credit Suisse. October 24, 2008, many of the world's stock exchanges experienced the worst decline in their history, with drops of around 10% in most indices. In the US, the DJIA fell 3.6%, although not as much as the other markets. The United States dollar and Japanese yen and the Swiss franc soared against other major currencies, particularly the British pound and the Canadian dollar as a world investors sought safe havens. So currencies, other sub-currencies strengthened while others were weakening. A currency crisis developed, with investors transferring vast capital resources into stronger currencies, leading many governments of emerging economies to seek aid from the International Monetary Fund. Borrowing. When there is problem, they borrow money. Later that the deputy governor of the Bank of England, Carlyle Bean, suggested that if a once-in-a-lifetime crisis, and possibly the largest financial crisis of its kind in human history, in a transaction pushed by regulators, PNC, Financial Services agreed to acquire National City Corp. In November 6, 2007, the IMF predicted a worldwide recession of minus 0.3% for 2009. On the same day, the Bank of England and the European Central Bank respectively reduced their interest rates from 4.5% to 3% and from 3.75% to 3.25%. November 10th, 2008, American Express converted to a bank holding company. November 20th, 2008, Iceland obtained an emergency loan from the International Monetary Fund. After the failure of banks in Iceland resulted in a devaluation of the Icelandic krona and threatened the government with bankruptcy. November 25th, 2008, the term asset-backed security loan facility was announced. Asset-backed security loan facility was announced. November 29, 2008, Economic Dean Baker observed, there is a really good reason for tighter credit. Yes, there was. Tens of millions of homeowners who had substantial equity in their homes 2 years ago have little or nothing. People lost in terms of value their property. Businesses are facing the worst downturn since the Great Depression. This matters for credit decision. How you make decision now becomes critical. A homeowner with equity in her home is very unlikely to default on a car loan or a credit card debt. They will draw on this equity rather than lose their car or have a default place on their credit record. I'm not so sure what he's trying to talk about. On the other hand, a homeowner who has no equity is a serious default risk. So he was talking about scenarios where lenders will give credit to borrowers who are actually most likely they're not going to pay back. Profit prospects look much worse in November 2008 than they did in November 2007, while many banks are obviously at the brink. Consumers and businesses will be facing much harder time getting credit right now, even if the financial system were rock solid. This is the prognosis being given by experts. The problem with the economy is the loss of close to $6 trillion in housing wealth and an even larger amount in stock wealth. Housing and stock. December 1st, 2008, the NBER announced the US was in a recession and had been since December 2007. The Dow tumbled 679.95 points or 2.8% on the news. December 6, 2008, the 2008 Greek riots began, sparked in part by economic conditions in the country. December 16, 2008, the federal funds rate was lowered to 0%. In December 20th, 2008, financial under the Troubled Asset Relief Program was made available to General Motors and Chrysler, buying and selling using public money. January 6, 2008, Citigroup probably argued Singapore in 2009 would experience the most severe recession in Singapore's history. In the end, the economy grew in 2009 by 3.1%, and in 2010, in January 26, 2009, the 2009 Icelandic financial crisis process intensified and Icelandic government collapsed. So, because Iceland is quite small, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009 provided a payroll tax credit repeal in late 2010. In February 2013, 2009, Congress approved the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009, $707 billion economic stimulus package. President Barack Obama signed it in February 2017. In February 20th, 2009, the DJIA closed low amid worries that the largest banks in the United States would have to be nationalized. February 27, 2009, the DJIA closed its lowest value since 1979 as the U.S. government increased its stake in Citigroup to 36%, raising further fears of nationalization, and a report showed that GDP shrank at the sharpest pace in 20 years. So this is the market behaving badly. In March 2007, the drop in stock prices was compared to that of the Great Depression. So every time the government tries to make policies that the market do not like, it reacts like a ghost. like some form of a demon trying to destroy itself and destroy the rest of the country. In March 2009, President Obama stated that buying stocks is a potentially good deal if you are a long-term perspective. If you have if you got a long-term perspective on it. In March 6, 2009, the Dow Jones hit its lowest level of 6,469.95, a drop of 4% from its peak in 14,164 on October the 9th, 2007, over a span of 17 months before beginning to recover. It's like an economy under the life machine. In March 10th, 2009, shares of Citigroup rose by 38 cents after the CEO said that the company was profitable in the first 2 months of the year and expressed optimism about its capital position going forward. Major stock market indices rose 5 to 7% market, making the bottom of the stock market decline. In March 12, 2009, stock market indices in the US rose another 4% after Bank of America said it was profitable in January and February and would likely not need more government funding. Bernie Madoff was convicted. So next time we're going to start from the story of Bernie Madoff, his conviction and why he was convicted. Conviction means you have been caught committing crime. So probably the crime of property is always theft, and that's what is involved in the market, the financial market in America. We're going to look at that next time we come. Thanks for watching this video, and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet, and share with family and friends. Leave a comment below, hit that notification bell, and I'll speak to you